I always assumed that if my wife ever disappeared, I'd feel it. That gut-level panic you see in movies, that instinct that something is wrong. But I didn't get instinct. I got a text. A text that detonated my entire reality. It was 4:17 p.m. I was still at work when her message came through. Help. I don't know where I am. They took me. Please call 911. Then another. They said they want $50,000. Don't call the cops. They'll hurt me. My heart didn't just drop. It collapsed. I dialed 911 immediately. My voice cracked as I explained the situation, reading the messages out loud. The dispatcher asked me if there were signs of struggle, if anything was unusual at home, if she had enemies, debts, or a fight with anyone. I couldn't think. None of it made sense. By the time I got home, the police were already there. Flashing lights strobed across the driveway. Neighbors gathered in clusters. 2 officers were securing an area around what they called a possible abduction site. Her grocery bag was sprawled on the concrete. Egg carton cracked. Her purse was upside down, contents scattered. And one shoe, her favorite pair, was lying on its side in the grass. It looked like a scene from a crime documentary. A detective pulled me aside and asked, "Did you hear anything? Any vehicles? Any signs she was meeting someone?" I told him no. At least, I thought the answer was no, because none of this felt like her. None of it fit. But grief and fear override logic, and I was drowning in both. The police sent out an alert. I gave a shaky plea on the neighborhood watch app. Posts were spreading online, and people were sharing her photo. Everyone was mobilizing. Everyone except the one person who should have been the easiest to find. Around 6:40 p.m., after 2 hours of panic, I finally sat down on the couch, staring blankly at my phone. I kept rereading her texts, looking for hidden clues. And then a thought hit me, something so obvious I felt stupid for missing it. Her AirPods were always connected to her iPhone, always synced, always on the Find My network. If she had them in her purse, if she dropped her purse during a supposed struggle, then maybe. My hands trembled as I pulled up the app. For a split second, the screen said, "Locating," then the icon popped up, a live location ping, but not where she claimed she was, not anywhere near the abduction zone. Instead, I watched the little dot move. It was traveling down the highway, smoothly, steadily, like someone driving, not someone being tossed around in a van or held hostage. I zoomed in, zoomed out, refreshed. The signal wasn't glitching. One of the detectives noticed my expression and leaned over. "Is that her device?" I nodded. My stomach twisted as the GPS that turned off the highway and began threading through residential streets. This wasn't a warehouse district, not an industrial area, not a remote back road, just a suburb, a quiet one. The detective radioed the others and told me to stay close. We watched together as the dot traveled down a broad street lined with identical mailboxes, then slowed, then stopped, completely, pinned at a precise address. I stared at the house number on the screen. My entire body went cold. I knew that address. Everyone in my family knew that address, because it belonged to one person I never imagined would be part of this. Her ex, the convoy of police cars rolled down the street like a quiet storm. The AirPods ping matched perfectly with her ex's apartment complex, same building, same side, same parking space. I stood behind the officers as they approached the door. All the lights inside were off. No sound, no movement. One officer knocked loudly. "Police department. We have reason to believe someone inside this residence is in distress." Silence. Another knock, harder. "Open the door." Nothing. Every second felt like an hour. My heartbeat was so loud, I felt it vibrating in my throat. The officers exchanged looks. Given the report and the active device ping, one said, "We're breaching." One officer stepped forward with a battering tool. My palms were sweating. I felt dizzy. I wanted to vomit. I was about to watch them pull my wife from some nightmare. Or so I thought. The door cracked open after one solid hit. Inside, there was no screaming, no ropes, no struggle, just silence. And then, her ex's voice. "Whoa, whoa, hey. What the hell is going on?" Officers swept in, guns drawn, clearing the small apartment. One yelled, "Hand where we can see them." I waited for my wife to run out crying or screaming or begging for help. Instead, she stepped out of the bedroom, wearing pajamas, hair wet from shower, holding her phone, and completely unharmed. Not a bruise, not a tear, not a mark, nothing. And right behind her, her ex, shirtless, holding a plate of leftover pizza. My legs nearly gave out. The officers immediately separated them. Her ex was confused but cooperative. My wife, she burst into tears, but not the "I survived a kidnapping" kind. More like, "I just got caught cheating and I know it." A detective asked her plainly, "Were you abducted today?" She hesitated. For too long. Her voice was barely audible. I don't know." He repeated the question, firmer. "Ma'am, were you abducted?" Finally, she broke. No, she wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't threatened. And there was no ransom. The detectives seized both her phone and her ex's, and the truth spilled out like dirty water. The ransom messages? All sent from inside the apartment. The panic texts, typed while they were literally eating takeout on the couch. And the timestamps? Perfectly aligned with the video footage from the apartment's doorbell cam, showing her receiving food deliveries at the same time she claimed she was tied up and unable to move. The grocery bag at home? Staged. The single shoe? Placed. The struggle? Fabricated. My wife hadn't been taken. She had run. Straight to him. Motive revealed. Psychological breakdown. Aftermath. When detectives asked her why she created such an elaborate scheme, her ex answered first. She told me she wanted out of her marriage. She said she needed money, fast. And she said framing you would make the divorce easier. I thought my heart had already been broken, but this shattered what was left. She admitted the plan. Send a fake ransom message. Make me panic. Get me to send money to an anonymous account. Then claim I ignored warning signs and call it emotional neglect in the divorce. Get leverage. Get sympathy. Get money. All while spending the night with her ex. She wanted freedom. She wanted revenge for the arguments we'd had. And she wanted to play the victim. But here's the part she didn't plan for. The digital forensic standards. Phones log everything. Location data. Bluetooth connections. App usage. Typing patterns. Delivery timestamps. Doorbell cams. Even biometric unlock attempts. Her AirPods were her undoing. Her own devices testified against her. Instead of looking like a kidnapped woman, she looked like a scammer, a liar, and an adulterer. The investigation flipped instantly. She wasn't a victim. She was a suspect. She was charged with filing a false police report, creating a hoax emergency, attempted extortion, obstruction, misuse of emergency services. And in the state where I live, those aren't small charges. Her ex wasn't charged. He cooperated fully and provided evidence. But me? I was left with a marriage in ruins. The divorce was immediate, swift, undisputed. I walked away with full custody of our shared assets and the moral clarity I desperately needed. Sometimes I think back to that moment, when I opened the Find My app and saw her dot moving across the map. I thought I was tracking my wife's rescue. I thought technology was going to save her. But really, it saved me. It revealed the truth she thought she could hide. And I learned something about modern life. Connectivity is a double-edged sword. It can protect you, expose you, or betray you. But it never lies. People lie. Devices don't. And in my case, her AirPods told me the truth she never intended me to find. The truth that ended everything.